Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self love, self care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. Today, we're going to talk about women in media, and we are joined by a fabulous panel of women. I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
And I am Picket Fence. Today's mindfulness minute is called Natural Creativity. I allow myself outlets for expression, knowing that I belong to the infinite creativity of the divine mind. Don't buy into the idea that you are not artistic, that you are not creative. Every human being is part and parcel of the mind of God, part of the infinity creative nature. There is no such thing as a person without creativity. Every person alive should write or paint or draw or even sing something, anything that gives expression to feeling and ideas. The work does not have to be marketable or even have an audience of more than one. If you have to sneak time in and stash it away in your desk drawer, do that. But don't let yourself get away without not attending to some type of creative pursuit. You will quite simply feel better about life when you are engaged in your creative capacity. Today, get out a piece of paper and write or draw for at least 10 minutes. Start without predetermining the course of action, as though letting your hands just do what they will. Observe the process as it unfolds, and don't worry about making something perfect. Perhaps you learn something important about yourself, and perhaps you don't. Avoid the need to make experience feel profound in some way. Word up.
Word up. So let's
So
get
lay it
into
bounce.
it. So on our panel
Yeah, get
today,
into it.
wait a minute. Hold on. We got because I'm geek, so you gotta just give me this
No,
moment to
it's
bask
your
in all
thing.
of these
It's
women.
your thing. I'ma sit back.
You gonna sit back?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
your thing.
So Shonda Campbell of Speak Woman Magazine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love Fly With This podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Shakesha, you've been here before. This is like an old hat. I feel like you should just move on down here since you want the show so much. But Shakesha Bell of the Pretty Priestess podcast.
What's up, y'all? How's everybody? It is so good to be here. I look forward to learning a lot from you ladies.
And of course, last but not least, we got to save the greatest for last. TK of Bonfire Radio of let me see, you did a live broadcast show, a live play, you run a radio station, you've done some heavy hitting things with some celebrities, and I won't tell all your business. We'll keep some of that quiet. And Picky has something special for you.
Oh shit! Sorry.
It's
I
all
always
good.
get surprised by surprises. Still,
No, it's all good. I just want to take a moment to thank you because most people don't know and we don't say it enough that you are greatly responsible for the Fly With Us podcast. I took the podcast retreat, which was your class teaching people how to navigate this podcast world from the beginning of setting up for equipment, how to program your podcast, how to get it out there to the world. So without you, this might not be happening. So we just want
yo,
to take a moment to thank you for that. And also, um, everybody should be checking out the live game show every Friday on Bonfire Radio. It is an incredible show. I,
Hilarious.
I, I hate that I work on Fridays now, so I miss it a lot, but incredible. So big up
thank
to
you.
all three of you women. Of course, this is National Women's History Month, and we're doing a series on women to big up women and to add on to the beginning of the podcast of Fly With Us. That was the inception. Taking a class, I knew that I really didn't want to be on the podcast. I wanted the podcast to be centered around women of our age, which is 40 to 50 area, and I felt that it was high time that women have a voice and lead in this world.
Mm,
So big up to
yeah,
all of you.
yo,
Babe,
I
take
just
it
gotta
away.
say,
Go ahead.
thank you for y'all having me and just like recognizing that class situation. prior to me teaching that class, I took a class and I was just like, let me bring the game back to the hood, you know? And I put it on Facebook and I said, who all coming? And I'm just thankful that y'all did. And I also been keeping up with y'all because I see y'all like Dayton's Best Podcast, you be in the paper. So I'm like, oh, like y'all don't even know, because I just feel like every time it's just seeing lessons. It's when we plant seeds, you know, y'all are the flowers that grow from that. And it don't have nothing to do with me, but it do have something to do with me. And I'm proud every day. Like, I don't have to talk to y'all every day for y'all to know that, but I'm telling you now, so y'all know that that's happening in my heart every day.
Word up. Word up. Go ahead, baby. It's your show today. It's about the women.
It's about the women's, the
Yeah,
women's.
the
I
women.
don't like men's no more. I like women's.
Women's.
I'm sorry. Okay, so this is for all of you, for any of you. It doesn't matter who goes first, but how important is it that our voices, that women voices, are heard in the media and in the world, Black women especially? Like, how let's talk about how important that is.
Well, I'll jump in there. I think, especially Black women, I think we have been powerful since the beginning of time. There has been so much within us, and we have been change makers. We have birthed, we have become leaders, and we have birthed and cultivated leaders. And so now I believe that women have always been active, but there has always been so many barriers put against Black women to have our voices heard. There are so many things that are pushing back. But I think during this era, there are so many of our ancestors who have done so much work to get us here. And so now I think this is just manifesting what they have done. And now we are walking in the leadership roles to continue that. So I think it is important, as always, as it has always been, for Black women to have a voice. I think now during this era, I have to contribute it to my ancestors, because we wouldn't be at this place if it were not for them. And so this is just a manifestation in social media and everything, and all of this. We are able to cultivate our spaces, you know, because long before social media, before, you know, everybody was on the internet and all of these different outlets, you had to go through a big company, you know what I'm saying? These big media companies. And of course we didn't get in there, because of course we didn't get in there. Like, that's no, we don't have to have that conversation. So I think it has always been there, but now is the time. We are using all of the resources. And now is the time for us to really be heard, to really cultivate our spaces, for us to come into spaces like Fly With Us podcast and be able to have our voices heard, because we always been talking. We always been out here. We always been pushing. We always been working. But now is just the time that people are like, oh, okay, now I see. You ever been the bomb for so long, and then people like, oh, you is about. I've been telling y'all this. So yeah,
Right.
That's what made me crazy about, like, I love, like, the whole, like, Black Girl Magic, like the moniker, the movement, the theme of it. But when people were like, it felt like people were just waking up to what was already existing. And I just, that part got me aggy. I was like, we've been magic and we've been here, and also, you know, so like that kind of made me mad. And then I realized, you know what, that just means this is our time to, like, you know, this word is often taken a negative connotation, but by all, like, for intents and purposes, I think this is positive. This is the time for us to exploit that, right? This is time for us to exploit this. When y'all woke up, we've been awake on this. I've been knowing Lady Bounce could do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been on. So now it's the time to exploit this, since folks are able to receive us now. So I think that's the difference between now and then as well.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000% with both of you ladies. And what I've noticed is that we've been shifting more into a feminine energy, period, overall. And feminine, the feminine voice is so special. Specifically, the Black women's voice is unique and special because of our experience in this world. we have a different experience, period, because we have that right brain creativity and we kind of see the world in a different way. And we're able to make a lot of connections from an emotional standpoint that'll get us to be able to connect better within our relationships. So right now, it's really important for us as women to be heard out here, because this is a time for us to kind of get a lot more sensitive to how we've been interacting with each other and get a lot more ideas on the table on how we can advance further. So definitely bringing women onto the scene. It's never that we couldn't do it. It was more about us having that platform, that ability, and us being confident within ourselves. And as we see more of us up here on platforms, we start to gain that confidence within ourselves, and we begin to speak our unique and individual truths, which come in and minister and heal different people that connect with the message.
I love it. So as all of you were talking and bigging up each other, which is really important to have that be done, because I get so tired of combating the narrative that Black women don't get along, that we are catty, that we are nasty by nature. To me, that is nails on a chalkboard. Because while there are some segments of women who don't get along, it's not, oh, I don't get along with her because she's Black. I don't get along with her because I don't get along with her. So let's not put a color on it, because I got some white girls that I ain't too keen on either. But I hate that whole narrative that, we don't get along, we can't work together, as people. So the more that we're able to do stuff like this, and come together on big platforms, I think it's important. It's exploding, us. And like you all said, we've been here. We've been magic. We've been doing this. Well, welcome to the party. Here's your party hat. Come on, sit on down.
Yeah, I also adding on to that, I think that the cattiness is promoted. That's all that they're showing in big TV programs, is sisters fighting each other, sisters talking about each other, not getting along. That is heavily promoted. So when you have women that are grinding together and supporting each other, that doesn't get seen enough. It's been happening and it always will happen. But for some reason, there's a mass amount of promoting the negative. And as we're promoting that, as like I always talk about, it has become the programming of the younger sisters that are growing up. They're growing up thinking that this is the cool thing to be. It is cool to be negative. It's cool to fight each other. So they aren't getting enough of what an alternative of what they could do.
If I could just jump in, it's poisoning the well. It's poisoning the well, because you're right. There is a purpose behind it, and you don't degrade or try to market something as negative unless it's positive. We are so strong. So that is why they're like, oh no, when Black women get together, they're going to tear some stuff up. So it's poison in the well, because once you get in somebody's mind, once you get into the children's mind, then that's it and that's all.
Yeah. And you know what? I notice a lot that I do agree that they have a lot of platforms that really encourage those behaviors. But I think that if we really look at that, that's an opportunity for us to heal, because what we really don't want to deal with is that big elephant that's in the room, that a lot of women are insecure and they're feeling these ways, and this underlying anger and these insecurities and the jealousy and the cattiness. Like, what's really going on? What's up under the surface, and how can we dive deep into what's going on with that, so that we can repair that and we can heal that. See, what they end up doing is highlighting a lot of stuff that we don't really want to deal with and say that it doesn't exist. Unfortunately, it does exist. And you'll notice that when you start seeing yourself making progressive moves and no one's congratulating you, and you thinking people are your friends and they're not supporting you, and there's family members that do that, but it's not necessarily about you achieving goals. It's more of an internal struggle that people have, and we're not dealing with that. And this is the reason why it shows up. and it looks so twisted and dysfunctional and everything because we're so ashamed of it. We want to hide it and not deal with it.
Yeah. I think that and I agree with everything. And I think a lot of it starts, we gotta roll this thing back, right? We always gotta roll it back to see where it starts so that we could diagnose the issue and then we could all work on it. I think we're like you said, Shakesha, we're in a space of great healing right now. I recognize that for all of us, like legit my whole timeline, right? Everybody's trying to heal, everybody's trying to sit quiet, everybody's lighting a candle, everybody's saging something. And I think a lot of times right now, a lot of us that have done that are doing that right now. I'm in a middle space of that, and I'm recognizing that, and I'm trying to be okay with that. Is that rolling back the clock to see where the F this came from. And a lot of this, this is like Black women, white women, all kinds of folks out here, the patriarchy, capital T, capital P, the and how society portrays us and women, and like if you think back to like old jokes from, let's say, like stand-up comedy 1950s, it wasn't nothing funnier than a man talking about, my wife is such a nag, such a ball and chain, like this thing has been drilled in. You find that in every joke, on every sitcom, on every TV show. Like, we sitting there, we watching I Love Lucy, I'm watching reruns with my grandmother. This is the boss of the head of the company, but in the show, she is dumb. She is this, you know what I'm saying? She ain't the boss, right? But she also perseveres, right? Like, so I'm watching my media, I'm looking for things like that. Like, how can I watch things or listen to things that subvert that narrative? So yes, Lucy or any other woman character, that nag, dumb, whatever. But then we always end up thriving and surviving and doing better than the original character or person in the first place, right? And to me, that's a people complaining about how they're women as nags and all that. That just shows me that you're a low-level dude. And I don't even want to bring that kind of language here, but you could do better, right? We could do better. Right. Come on, gents.
But if I could just jump in, I think you ladies are speaking real powerful. And I'm a mental health professional, and I work with women that are going through that healing process. And I'm always thinking about what's the barriers. There are, healing hurts. Society and media have you think, you go and you sit and you do whatever, but healing is really painful. And a lot of people have gone through so much trauma, and it's almost like, you're about to go into something painful and you become stuck and you become stagnant. And so you go through years and years of that, and your children see that. And so it's a generational thing. But I think, TK, you were onto something good, because I'm in marketing and I do branding and marketing. And you're right. This conversation is saying they keep it out in front of us. This is what they feed us. But it's spaces like this, because we have the opportunity, because energy doesn't disappear. It's either positive or negative. So we have the opportunity that, although that is the case, when we do spaces like this, we're counteracting that. So the more each and every one of us come on and do something powerful, that's counteracting that. And there are a lot of people that I've connected with when they start out and they don't necessarily connect with me, or they don't have those tough conversations. And then, we plant a seed, you plant a seed, and all of these different sources plant seeds, and then they'll go through their own process and be able to walk into that and be ready for that healing, because there are so many people putting a band-aid on a bullet wound, and that's killing them. But surgery hurts, right? It hurts when we break a bone, but it also hurts when that bone is healing. So I think we do have to give a little bit of grace to our sisters, because so many of us have gone through so much trauma, and there is a nature versus nurture that is in our being. But we do have the power, because the more you begin to put these images in front of them, even if they're still in that environment, they're going to be ready to come out when they are ready. They have to go through their own grace, because we all have different stories. I just wanted to add that.
Dope. I love that. And TK, you talked about like Lucy being the boss and not being portrayed as the boss. And that makes me think about what are some of the barriers for women trying to get into media and stay into media and be taken serious in media?
Ooh, child, that's a big one. It's a big one, but it's not, right? Because we all know what it is. A lot of it is, for me, I call myself a late bloomer, You know, like I've been traveling this trajectory for a long time. And then by the time I got to like where people quote unquote like respect the game, where the brand names start coming in, I'm on the older side of a lot of my colleagues, right? Like so I'm like, man, it took maybe 15 years before those people could see me, right? That I had value. That I had an opinion that was in a year or two from them talking to me was going to be very popular, right? Going back to the Black Girl Magic. And now I can't keep my inbox shut because like I said, it's time to exploit this period. But at the same time, so a little bit real talk, picket fence. Sometimes I'm resentful of that because it's like, you got the juice. 10 years ago I had the juice, but 10 years ago I wasn't worth it. And it's literally seeing me walk in the door and being like, no, we don't have audiences that will receive what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, I think you're wrong, but okay, like I got to keep it moving because I got to pay my bills. And I think that seeing us sometimes is a barrier, and we can't change how people see us. So keeping, the key for me has been to keep plugging, keep moving. You don't see me, I'm pivoting, I'm going over here. You don't see me, I'm pivoting, I'm going over here. I only have to learn a lesson one time till I have to move on. So that, and it makes it difficult. And then also a barrier is seeing other women, right? Because if we're not I am now in my job, I'm a person in management and in leadership. And so many people since me coming on the job, they have a page like about us, and it's everybody's picture on the page. And so many people have hit me up on the side and was like, TK, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't gonna apply, and then I saw your face on the about us. Some people, folks got to see it to believe it, and then also, like, do you speak your politics? And do people know who you are? Like, are you true to your politics? So I'm very vocal about who I am and what I believe in online, where people could see it, where prospective employers could see it. And I know that I probably have shot myself in the foot a couple times, but you know what? Guess what? I got currently have the right employer that has seen all the things and is not scared of me. And is like, this is the energy we need. Therefore, the people that are coming after me, they're like, okay, TK be talking that shit, and she really believes it. And these people hired her. I be talking that shit. I really believe it. Maybe they'll hire me too. They got to see you not only be the black face or be the woman face or be the non-binary person. They got to see you talk your talk and walk your walk, and that there are people that are able to receive you. So that brings people hope, right? That 18 jobs might not hire you, but 19 and 20, they see you. And now I do believe that I have a workplace and a place in media that, like, they at least know that what I want, and they know why I will stay or why I won't stay. And I think that's important to me.
Okay, so we actually have a question on the floor from a viewer, and they want to know, I'm guessing this is for you, TK. Do you think that took away from your motivation because you were looked over for so long?
I'm not gonna lie, it went up and down. It went up and down because this whole life is it's an ocean, man. So some days I would be in a space of when you're looking for a job, right? That's the time you need the motivation. And that's the time where we lack it often because we're getting rejected and people are talking to us a certain way and people are just like, stick with it, and stick with it ain't enough. Like, I need more. But when we're past that hump, then I see it. I see everything from a perspective. And I'm like, okay, I didn't even need that drama in my life. So I take that example, right? Because I know the situation is going to come again, guys. And I go, wait a minute, I'm in the situation again. My motivation is going down. What happened after that first time? TK, you look back and you said, you ain't even belong there. So maybe I don't belong here either. So I utilize that to fuel like whatever the next step. So it's like data for me. I take every experience. It's a piece of data. I learn, boom, we ain't going to do that again. Or that worked, let's do that again. And I treat motivation the same way,
Word up. I love that. I love that very much. Go ahead, Ben.
So, and this is again for anybody. What is the most stressful part about being in media and being a Black woman, aside from not having necessarily the money to throw it out there in people's faces? What else? What's the most stressful part, about what you do?
For me, I'm going to get in because I'm the novice on the on the panel here. And the biggest struggle for me is not knowing. Had I known that there was a podcasting class that was out there and available, the only thing that when I started this podcast, this was something that I was doing because I was encouraged. I was talking to so many of my friends and we would get into such deep discussion. She said, this needs to be a podcast, And so we did that. And I thought that this would be a message that would help. I had no idea on how to do a podcast. I just did an internet search and found all of the ways to get involved in making that happen. And then I started putting it together and I just learned as I go. And I have made some major mistakes out here in this game. But my biggest challenge out there is just that I'm totally ignorant, but I'm open and I'm here for it. But that right there has been my biggest challenge, is that I just lack the knowledge.
I'll jump in here. I think for me, my biggest challenge in everything is me. As I'm listening to you women speak, like TK, you preaching a whole sermon. Like, I'm a minister. I'm trying not to be over here and shout, but there is so much. Every trial, everything that we go through, every new level is a challenge. So, Queen, when you were saying, well, I'm a novice, well, once we get to that level of, you got this down pat, guess what? When we go higher, we're going to be a novice. And so a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough grace. We don't give ourselves, I talk to my clients all the time about preventing burnout, get putting these resources in mind, getting that motivation every single day, so that on those days when you're down, there is a natural reaction that you have. Like, there's so many times I wake up and I'll be like, you know what? I'm gonna quit. I'm going back to work, whatever. And then I'll be like, let me go on and get it. Let me go on in here and get this work done. So, the same struggles that TK was speaking about going to different businesses are the same struggles that I've worked with entrepreneurs on. So it's the same thing. I just have to get past myself and understand I'm an overthinker. I overanalyze. I over prepare. I am very, very particular, and little bit of just extraness. Like, I'm just extra. I know I'm extra. So a lot of times it's just me understanding it's not the things, because everything that I desire, everything that I have purposed in my life, it is already so. It's not me waiting for something to happen. It's me becoming the person to be able to walk in that successfully. So my biggest struggle is me. And sometimes I have to tell myself, girl, sit down, go take a nap, go eat, you tripping. This is nothing. Go on about your business.
I heard all that. Thank you so much, Shonda. I appreciate that, yo. And I think maybe you could help me with this next thing that I struggle with, or that might be a barrier for other Black women in media, is that once you become a Black woman in any industry that has reached a certain place. And I feel like for me, I just got to the party, right? So when we get to the party and other people see us enjoying ourselves, they want to enjoy it too. And I want to make it so everyone could come. But I do struggle with I can't get to everybody, right? I want to help so many people. And, I had to stop doing the class, because it's either I focus on me and I thrive, or I focus on everyone else and I, not to say die, but I don't survive and I don't thrive, because I need to keep moving forward. So sometimes I think for me, I deal with a guilt of I can't get to everybody. And also the fact that people look at Black women as natural teachers and leaders, that sometimes even when we're hitting up someone in the inbox, there's an expectation of, we are same, we are kin, and you must help me. And I'm gonna just reach out with this email one time, and I'm like, yo, it's you, 10 other people doing the same thing. And I either got to choose or I got to say no to everybody. So I need to figure out what's that balance, how much of my time, how much of energy, and then also knowing your space in the workplace. Like at my day job as a person in management, now I'm cultivating younger producers and younger people in audio. So I already did my work for community in my day job, child. I'm like, but this young, this young person here and this Black person there. And I'm just like, okay. So I try to shrink it down to how can I help one person a day, or how can I help one person a week, or can I help just this one person for 3 months? Like, I'm trying to figure out different ways so that like the guilt doesn't eat me up, because it is naturally expected of us to lead and nurture, and sometimes saying no is difficult. And also I just want to remind us that when we don't say no, that takes from our personal reserves. So it's like, I feel like I know what y'all finna tell me right now, but I also need to practice what y'all finna tell me right now.
Ooh, child, can I jump in, Lady Bounce?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just briefly, because you said it, you already know. So I'm just gonna say this: everybody is not your assignment. And there is something called a God complex, where we feel like, oh, this person called me, I am the only one. I'm the last person. But many times we are enabling certain things. And so you said it, you're depleting yourself. I call it prostituting your gift. You're giving it away for less than what it's valued.
Bars.
That's what we're doing, right? So that when you, and it's so deep to that. But when you are showing up in the spaces that you need to be, you're too depleted. So I'm gonna just drop it there. But you know what it is. You already know, because you're walking in it. But a lot of times, again, that comes to us turning into the person, because the people that's coming at you right now on the level that you own and you popping. Guess what? When you go higher, it's gonna be thousands added on to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and no is like a muscle. The first time you do it, you might keep chattering, guilt, all of that. But the more you say it, and then that's a relationship tester. You know what I'm saying? If I say no to you and you get mad at me and you do this, that, so then I know I shouldn't have said yes. But our inability to say no in certain situations is hindering our ability to say yes when we need to. I'm gonna drop it there.
Thank you so much. I receive all of that. Thank you.
Did anybody else want to add on to that? No.
I think you said it.
Yeah. Like I said, bars. Well, one thing that I know that a lot of people, and I just got off a class earlier, and we talked about this in class, is discipline. How do you stay disciplined in your craft? And anybody can take that.
For me, it is an assignment. It's not about how many people like what I'm doing. It's not about getting that recognition. It's about me knowing that I have an assignment. I have a message to deliver. Whether or not it's being received by those people, that's not the tribe that it's meant for. That's not the audience that's going to get that healing that they need from that. So when I'm out and I'm delivering any message that I have for the show, my total motivation is all in love and how can I help and how can I heal? And so when I go into my quiet time and I start thinking of how can I help? First, I start setting that intention on what can I do to assist? How can I help? And so any issues that may be on my heart at the time, or what have you is going on at that time, Spirit will drop a little something for me. And then it just starts to unfold itself. Typically, I have absolutely no idea what it is that I'm going to do. I'm going to need at least a week to get it together, because I need that quiet time to be able to figure out where you want me to go. What's the assignment, right? And then once I do that, it starts unfolding itself. I don't really have a master process with that. That is the process right there. It's totally motivated by love. This is my assignment. This is what I came to do.
Or
Picket Fence, can you repeat the question? I got caught up in the assignment so deep that I was like, wait, tell me again what I'm supposed to say.
How do you stay disciplined in your craft?
Okay, now I'm in the building. Yes. Keep doing it. Keep practicing it in different ways, and in ways that, like, if doors weren't opening, I'd open them myself. So anything I did was always practice. Like, I always want to see, like, if I could like if I want to go for a job and it's something a little bit outside of my thing, I would like just go ahead and make a sample, like a sample project, right? Or if I'm curious about a thing, I go and say, okay, like how long will it take for me to figure out? And I work the problem backwards, you know, so I'll undo it. So I'll go see what I want, like the audio fiction piece, the audio drama piece that y'all were talking about earlier. I went and I listened, or I watched, you know, broadcasts on YouTube, like an old one. And I'm like, how did they do that? Let me work the problem backwards. Okay, there's 4 people up there, so I need some actors. How we gonna hear this? We need some microphones. We need a space. Okay, so where's that music coming from? Let me get a sound designer. Let me get a person that knows how to work the mixer, an engineer. Like, I need this to sound smooth. So like basically I practice by, I find something that I don't know or I'm curious about. I look for an example and I work the problem backwards to see if I could get to, okay, where do I fit and how do I make this thing, produce this thing? And then that I would say that's mostly it, because the next thing I was going to go into kind of would take us into like leisure space. But I do take my leisure seriously, because when I'm concentrating on the work things or the media things, I need to not be doing media things in my regular life. And I need to take that seriously.
Word.
I love that. I love that. And for me, it is 2 words or 2 phrases: mental health and coping skills. I think when we think about discipline, it is, if we are chaotic in our everyday life, then we're going to be chaotic in business, right? So there are certain things that we have to change our habit. And I love that TK is the first thing that I did was because I work for, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been working from home prior to this pandemic. And so I knew that I wouldn't be disciplined like I work from home. So I feel like, oh, I can sleep in, I can do all of these different things. So in order to train my mind, I created a whole room in my, you know, I moved my bedroom and I created an office in my room. And I researched successful people, successful billionaires. My mentor told me that when I started, and they have schedules, right? They even schedule that administrative time, right? Which is the rest time, which is the time for them to just let go and let loose. So I create coping skills when I know, okay, my discipline is lacking. It's not a time for me to beat up on myself, but it's a time for me to see why. Maybe I need a break. And so maybe I need to do different things that these queens are speaking of, but it's about implementing a coping skill, because you can't just say, oh, I want to be disciplined. That ain't it. You know, you have to create a schedule. Like we lack on the schedule and the budgeting, just like with money. When you ever got a lump sum of money and then you look up and you're like, where did I spend the money? Because you didn't tell your money where to go. So when you understand that, you tell your time where to go, because we excited about our money, but I tell my time where to go. So I tell my time, hey, this is the time I'm disciplining myself. I'm creating a habit to work at this time. I'm creating a habit to do this, and it might take some time, but you have to implement coping skills, and you also have to implement where am I at in my mental health space, and not let ourselves get to a breaking point situation, not let ourselves get to a burnout situation. But sometimes we need to shift our schedule. If I'm going through a lot with my kids and my personal life, or whatever the case may be, I may decrease my work hours. I may change my schedule a little bit, but we have to monitor our mental health. And listen, schedules, whiteboards, sticky notes, all of that, because you have to tell your time where to go. You have to tell your mind where to go, especially if you are a creative person. Because if you are a creative person, and my clients will come to me, I got all of these ideas. Well, did you write it down? No, I remembered in my head. That's a lie. That's a lie. You cannot, because there is a process in creating. Once you say, okay, I want to do a podcast, guess what? First comes research. So you can't go from A to Z. You have to begin to discipline yourself. If I can't discipline myself to regularly research and study my craft, how can I condition myself to show up every day, to show up every week on my Fly With Us podcast? How can I show up as myself every day? So mental health and coping skills. And you can start most times with discipline. Most times I say, start with your house. Like my house, if I got a lot of clutter, if If I got a lot of stress, then I'm not disciplined. And it's not like, oh, you got to be perfect, but I'm just saying you have to structure yourself, because once you begin to structure the outside, if you got a lot going on in the inside, you structure your outside first. You do what you can do right now, and then that will trickle down. And those same skills that you're using to organize and structure your life, to your house, that's how you're going to discipline yourself. That's how you go, because even in the army, there is a structure in the way that they march. There is a structure in the way that they hold themselves. So it's not just like they walking to and fro. No, you got to get a rhythm. You got to get a system, because the goal is, the discipline is going to lead you to the next level, and the next level means expansion. And so you're going to have to teach the people that are beneath you, your co-workers, your trainees, your mentors, how to do that. And how can you do it if you don't have the basic coping skills? I'll drop it there, because that's a good one. That's a good question.
You
Man,
are
that was
on point.
that was a whole word, man. I'm like, I'm over here taking notes. Like, I mean, next time just at me, okay? You ain't gotta be, I tell people all the time, I'm an open book. You could have just messaged that to me. You didn't have to do it all in front of everybody. But thank you for that word. I appreciate that. So okay, so let's move on. So Pickett came up with this question, and I have to ask you because it has to be discussed. Let's talk hair, ladies. Let's talk hair of women on TV, hair of women in movies. They literally passed a Crown Act in California that says it's okay for us to wear our hair the way it grows out of our head. So let's talk about that, the pressure that we're facing, that what's wrong with our hair? Like, why do I have to put on the wig or get to this or to get to that when my counterparts don't have to?
Yeah, I mean, appearance has always been a lot, right? Appearance has always been important for certain sets of people. I think once we realize and the world starts to realize, like I said, right now we are in a time of people are starting to receive what all we've been going through. Right. And that's not just for Black Girl Magic. It's just for a lot of things. So their folks are starting to, they're like, wait, what you mean? That's your hair, right? That's how it grows out of your head. What are you telling me you can't go to work like that? And like, people are starting to see how ridiculous that actually sounds. And more when we have people that are out in front of the camera, like Viola Davis has been doing a lot to be in front of the camera, on magazine covers with her natural hair. And also, like, first of all, let's just give it to the patron saint of women in media, Oprah Winfrey, right? When nobody was putting this darker skinned Black woman on magazines, she said, I'll make my own magazine, put myself on the front every month. And she's been doing it for 20 years. So that's, I think that helps a lot. And also seeing her go through her struggles with weight on TV, just like literally seeing the humanity of us has helped people be more receptive to us. So I think that the portrayals are important. And also the fact that we are all different. That's why I love seeing, this woman on this TV show is wearing her natural hair. This woman in this TV show is wearing a wig. And guess what? We still friends, and we ain't nothing wrong with that. As long as we come to work and do the job, it's fine. So some people are coming to work, they're doing jobs with tattoos on their faces. Long as they could get these TPS reports out and the payroll is on time, I don't give a damn, bruh. Like, you're not working with kindergartners. Like, that's but anyway, yeah, I think the world is at a more receptive place. It is not okay that it's late. However, since it's happening, I'll receive it. I go to my work with my hair like this. Sometimes I wear a hoodie on cam and no makeup and nothing, and I just be like, "Hi, I'm TK, your executive producer," and it's just what it is. You're just gonna have to trust me on that. You're just gonna have to trust
me. That's powerful. I'm one of those people, I believe that there's life-changing magic in showing up as your best self. It gives you this boost of confidence and this charge of energy like no other, because when you look in the mirror and you like that image that you see, that kind of changes how you show up and approach this world, right? And so even now, when we have women, they're wearing their hair weaves, they're wearing their wigs. There's nothing at all wrong with that. If this is something that helps you to feel good, it helps to elevate you, then this is what you do. And if you wear your natural hair, that's another shift right there, because we have gotten into a place where we get a little insecure with what our natural state looks like, because society has taught us that there's something wrong with that. And we have to make ourselves look like all of the other women in different races in order to be perceived as beautiful. So when you can show up in your natural form and in your natural state, that's a special kind of magic in that. However, some of us, we still like that other stuff, because I tell you, some of these sister girls, they out here, they got these hair weaves and they show enough bad with them, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. However, we also need to consider the fact of the source and where this hair is coming from that we're adding to our hair, because our hair is like an antenna. And when we connect someone else's hair to them, we're not really sure about the traumas and everything that's in the hair. So when you're getting that hair that's connected to the crown chakra area, to your antennas, energetically, there's a possibility of taking on the energy of the previous owner of the hair. That's the only concern that I have with that. But if you sister girls want to show up with the hair weaves, the wigs, whatever it is that you need to do to help you to be more effective in your expression, then let's get it.
Bars.
Yes, come on. I think that's a great question, and I am natural, and I put my hair on when I feel like it on different days. And today's one of them days, y'all. Cute. I've been cute for a week. But I think that's a great question, and that the point of figuring out where the problem comes from, and you mentioned the crown laws. Like I'm a huge historian, and if we think about hair, because we all know our history doesn't start with slavery, right? So when we got over here, what did they do? They took everything that we loved. Our hair is who we are. We are the only people that can do anything with our hair. And so that was our strength. And, I think about, Samson, look, that's a whole nother issue. So our hair it represented who we are. So it took that away. And so now there has been so many people that are ancestors who have fought against that, who have gone against that, and who have been pushing back and showing up in that space. But again, society would have you think that the Eurocentric look is what's quote unquote pretty. You got to be this, you got to be that, check off all these marks, and that's what makes you pretty. And so we didn't see representation matters. You queens were talking about that. We didn't see that growing up. So I come from a time when you would put, you put the towel, the shirt on your head and act like it's flowing and all this kind of stuff, because that's what we see. But when we began to see other things like the Oprahs, like all of these other people, like the people around us that showed up, I definitely love everybody that has been out front, but we all got an auntie, a neighbor, somebody who pushed back on that. And I think that we have decided to show up now, and we fought so much. That's why the crown at, because this is the same government that told us that we aren't even a whole person, right? So you telling us that we are what you say that we are. We are who you say that we are. We can't be ourselves unless you say it. And so there have been so many people that fought it. But I think that the issue is, in just like everything, they have us fussing and fighting and going back and forth to portray and to promote this issue between natural and non-natural. Wig and no wig, all of this. What's good hair? You got good hair, or silky hair, or this and that. You got kinky hair, you got 4C hair, so that's ugly hair. All of this stuff that they've put in us. And again, it goes back to what Queen was saying. We don't even know who we are because we're so confused, because that's why they separated the village, because the village, that's where grandmama, auntie, all these people poured into us and you walked out into a society that told you something else, but you had a village to go back and reprogram your mind. So there's so many levels, and I think that this hair issue is just another small thing that they're trying to get us up in arms about. But I love how women show up and they're authentically themselves. But I'm glad that we're pushing the laws, but I just want to, this is the same people that took the power from us.
And like you said, and I just want to just real quick, because y'all are just hitting me in my spirit right now with this. Like, I think that, like, yo, our hair it's antennas for several reasons, right? To each other, whether we wear it natural or not, right? Like we talk about ancestors, and we used to carry seeds in our braids, in our cornrows. We used to, braid them in a certain way. So now in 2022, or in the present time, that's just when the boys go get the haircuts and they put cuts in the side, right? That it communicates something to me as another Black person looking at another Black person. Your hair communicates something to me, right? Your presence in the room communicates something to me. And it's mostly speaking to the division of, or trying to get us to yell at each other about hair. Nick, get the fuck out. Like, come on, right? Like, it's trying to keep us apart, because the whole point was to keep us separated, right? More than two Black people is a group. You can't have that, right? You can't have them talking. Where's your papers, right? Where your papers at? So if you carving messages into your hair, right? If you carving empowerment into your haircut, if you are, proud of your long and strong, it's not the hair that really is community. It's the energy. It's the confidence. It's the, I woke up like thisness, and that's a lot. And as women in media, that is extra a lot. Right? So come with your long and strong. You know what I used to like to do with my locks? I used to put them for interviews. I put them up, straight up. Because I just sat there. I want to sit down and still be taller than you.
Yes.
That reminds me.
I was out here playing mind games.
Look, you sound like David Banner. He said, we the gods, because where do our hair grow up?
Yeah.
Word. Oh.
Yeah, I actually used to work at two different TV stations here, and this is back in 98 and 99, and listening to the bosses and like the station owners telling the young reporters, you have to look like this. No, you can't wear your natural hair. Your hair's in a ponytail. That's not going to work. You can't be on the air like that. You need to go over there to hair and makeup and let them do your hair. And you get to hair and makeup, and no offense, but there's these white women who've never touched the Black hair ever trying to do your hair. Right. And then they get on TV and they look a hot mess, and I go, she looked better with her ponytail. But I'm just gonna sit over here and work in the studio and run a teleprompter. And I'm not gonna say that you look like a whole mess, because to me it was wild that those words were even like spoken out loud. It's like you could think that you don't like her hair, or you're not necessarily okay with how she's wearing it today, but to actually tell her go change it and fix it, or you're not going on the air today, that used to just blow me away. Like, I'm like, it's 99. You can't talk to us like that. But they did. Like, it was just,
and they still do. And they still do. It just seems like a lot of pressure. And that's one thing why I wanted women to have a voice, is because you diamonds, because you're under so much pressure, always under pressure. And with that pressure, we'll go around with everybody. What do you do for self-care through all that pressure?
I'll jump in. I do right now. I commit to a hobby. Like, I don't know I'm committing until I do it a bunch of times. And then people are like, oh, you the ice cream lady. Like, for a pandemic, I was making a lot of ice cream. I commit to a hobby, and I don't let people deter me from that, because it's very easy for me to fall into a commoditative mindset where I will try to sell the thing. So I have to not only commit to the hobby, I have to try to commit to not exploiting myself in the negative way, because people think it's fun, and you should. Now I make I have my craft hobby, and I make dishes and plates, and I enjoy that, and the refrain that I get, and that a lot of y'all probably get when y'all do something that's outside of your thing, and if people like it, is you should sell that, make that
Yeah.
into a t-shirt, start a t-shirt business. And I'm like, first of all, you ain't gonna buy it. So there's that.
That
You
part.
can't afford it. So there might be that. Like, this is first, that's so don't do that to me. But also trying to remember that my purpose was not to sell anything. My purpose was like to zone out and to relax and to try something new. So that's what I do. You know, when I'm trying to like chill and stay focused and do self-care, I make stuff.
Or
That's cool. You know what? There's a lot of power in creativity. And so creativity is definitely one of those top things to help in de-stressing, especially in my experience. One of the things that I really do outside of that is I find a cheerful bunch to spend time with, right? Because nothing is more empowering and uplifting than being around people that make you laugh, that want to have a good time. And right now, it may be just my grandchildren. There's a positive energy. The grandkids, they always come with this positive light within them, and they just uplift the spirit and the soul, and it totally recharges me. So if I'm spending time around folks that just lift my spirits, that's something that's definitely helpful. But during those times when we can't be around each other, like the sister said, creativity is definitely finding that hobby and being creative. Absolutely.
I would have to say definitely my children, and I got two little great nephews and a great niece, and definitely I'm with you, and laughter and all of that. And I have an extensive like self-care regimen, mental, spiritual, emotional, physical. And I'm just now growing into that. I call it, I'm on my F them kids tour, because I've been a single mom. And so the last few years it's been F them kids, it's on me. So definitely I monitor what I take in my eyes, you know, what I watch, what I listen to, all of that. I'm vegan, so that's very, very special, important to me. But my primary self-care is gardening. Like, that is my zen space. I only plant things that I can eat because I'm a PHAT girl, but there is a scientific connection though between us putting our hands in soil and the creativity, like TK was talking about, all doing things with our hands. But for me, if I'm stressed, oh honey, I'm about to listen, it's about to go down. I'm out there in the dirt, I'm working out, I'm moving my body, because that releases that stress hormone. So, you know, I'm in the dirt playing on top of 99 other things, because I'm serious about my self-care. I'm serious about the word no, and I say it with a smile.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Word
Well, I
up.
mean, I'm always talking about, you know, what I do for self-care. So my favorite thing to do are music. I love music. I listen to music all the time. I have to have music. If I have a day where I don't listen to music, I feel like I wasted a day somehow. Like I ain't do nothing today because I didn't listen to music. So I gotta have a music, and my music, it fluctuates. You know, I like a little country, like some hip hop, some R&B, some gospel. My playlist goes from like Kirk Franklin to Kill a Mug real quick. You know, in my mind, I'm the greatest drug dealer, but I'm also praising God at the same time. You know, so,
Pretty gangster. That's a pretty gangster.
right, I'm a
Pretty
pretty
gangster.
gangster.
And real quick, just adding on to that, if you're in the Dayton area, or if you're coming to the Dayton area, Lady Bounce will be spinning a women empowerment set at the International Women's Day party at Bear House this Friday from 8 to 12. So definitely check that out. Real quick before we wrap up, as I always say, my favorite self-care is walking meditation. It's just getting out there walking, throwing on some jazz, and just zoning out. Let's get into my favorite part of the show. Doom, 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 doom. Brain science, science, science.
All right, so we've been talking to these fabulous women about being in media and elevating our voices. So I'm going to give you some reasons, some more obvious reasons why we need more women in media. So they just released this new global report, which these reports always crack me up because, like TK said, we've been here. Like Shonda said, you late. You know, we already got the plate at the party. You know, so but y'all come on in and sit down. We got some chicken over there. But anyway, a newly released global report has revealed that women are still grossly underrepresented in media. While some progress has been made in increasing women's roles in news, a deep look at the Global Monitoring Media Report shows that women are still poorly represented across many important economic social sectors. So, at the global level, women made up only 25% of the people that are read about, seen, or heard in the news. In Africa, that figure is even lower. It's 22%. In terms of portrayal, women are more likely to be news subjects in stories about gender issues than in the stories about politics, which dominate our news coverage. So they just do things to keep us out of those circles. We are also underrepresented as storytellers in the news. The report also notes that men are always more visible as journalists in the news as compared to women. And then we observe a different dynamic when it comes to like fields like education. It's heavily female dominated, but you don't get to hear about that as much. So we're here, we're on this high level here, but over here you don't see us. It's really weird. So, other than another interesting finding they said is that the allocation of journalists across thematic areas. So the gender gap is widest in political stories and smallest in stories related to gender issues. So men get to go out on more stories about politics, and we're more, sent on the fluffy pieces. Like, go talk about the cat that they rescued. Like, nah, because I know what's going on in the world too in politics, so we need to speak up. So, of course, COVID-19 messed up everything else, and women had to, when it came time to, have to sit down when states went on lockdowns and shutdowns. Who was it that dropped out of the workforce? It was us, because we had to go home and take care of the kids, and the men got to still work. So that didn't help us to be represented more. So, what can we do about it? I'm glad you asked. If you look at the women that are a part of this series, we have one who has a magazine, speakwomanmagazine.com. I don't know why you're not reading it, because if you're not reading it, you're missing out on the fact that in my spare time, I write for her magazine and I don't ask for nothing in return. I'm just helping to get Black voices out there, my thoughts, other people's thoughts, whatever. Then we have Shakesha with the Pretty Priestess podcast, where she's talking about helping you work on your spirit, doing that spirit work, doing that energy work that we all have to do. It costs nothing to take good care of yourself, right? And then we have TK, who has a whole radio station with a whole list of programmings, and it's bonfireradio.com. There's a game show every Friday. There's a show about finances. There's a show where it's an overnight, moves and grooves, some of that, late night with my homie kind of songs, them songs. And then there are other shows during the day. We've had the fortunate of having an episode or two on her radio station. So follow these ladies, find them on social media. They're on, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Find them, look for them. And when you find something that you like, share it. You don't know who's looking at your social media that is going to be like, oh, dang, I didn't know that there's a show called Brunch and Budget where in 20 minutes I can learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and learn how to invest in these things that I didn't know. So go out, find it, and then share it when you find it.
Definitely. It takes nothing to share a link or two. Nothing. If you find it valuable, why not share it so that other people can enjoy that value also? We want to thank all of you for being a part of this. Like I said, that's what is most important to me, is for women's voices to be heard, and especially in this month, it's go time. So thank you all for being a part of the show. This was a great conversation. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. I hope the people that watched it and the people that watch it on the playback will get something out of it too. Anybody want to say something before we get out of here?
Just thank you for having us, and I'm so grateful to be in a room with such new friends and old friends. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I was like, yeah, I need to connect with these bomb ladies. Y'all powerful, so I'm gonna be stalking y'all and sharing. But thank you so much, Fly With Us. You all do amazing work, and your daily self-care tips, I'll be following them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for including me in this discussion. You ladies are out of sight. Keep doing this work out here in these streets. Definitely. Thank you guys for including me in this conversation. Peace.
Peace. Well, you know you can find us on any social media. You can hear or watch us wherever you watch or listen to your favorite podcasts. That's our show for today. It's your boy Picket Fence.
I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
We out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Thank you, guys. Thank